Hi, it's Hans at happierman.com. Today's topic is the 3-step system to become a happier man explained. Well, if you get on my website at happierman.com, and I kind of lay it out there, and I think this system will really help you if you're struggling and you don't even know why you're struggling. So I'll just get into it. The first step, and it's a 3-step system, the first step is to 1, get your mind right. And the second step is to 2, take action. But you only take action, you only get to step 2 after you get your mind right. It's a big component of the system. And 3, after you take the action, you rest, heal, recharge, and then from that process you will grow. So that's the third step: rest, heal, recharge, grow. So let's get into explain that a little bit more. A lot of us go wrong in that we take a lot of action first without giving any thought to, is this the correct action? Should I be doing this? Why do I have to do this? Is this action going to make me happy? Will this make my life better? Will this create any success, abundance, or happiness in my life? And what I found is so much of the action we take guarantees that we will not have any of the good stuff of life. That we're kind of pushed into excessive action and wrong actions, and that it's near certainty that we will experience utter failure and misery by taking big actions that are a mistake for us. That's why you want to, 1, get your mind right, which is figuring out what the action should be, and then acting on it once you know what it is. A lot of us, we're kind of taught to say, act first, act, without giving any serious thought to if those actions are really right for us. So, you have to have your mind right. Otherwise, how do you know if the action you're going to take will be right? And by getting your mind right, that means that you're happy, that you're content, that you don't have a lot of stress that's unnecessarily debilitating on you. I mean, certainly there'll be a little stress from time to time, but it shouldn't be a debilitating stress. Your relationships with other people should be peaceful and harmonious and add to your life, not subtract. You should be able to kind of get your basic needs met without extreme exertion. But a lot of us don't have that, right? We work very, very hard on things that are not right for us. We get ourselves into massive debts trying to please other people and trying to do the right thing when it really is the wrong thing. And then from that action, then we'll be taking all that action, and then we won't even take time to rest and heal from it. We'll be expected to work even harder trying to deal with all that action we took. You might take a huge mortgage on an expensive home and find yourself having to work tons of overtime trying to pay for it. Well, that's a classic example of a wrong action, a misguided action that is guaranteed to make your life worse. Even though you think having a big house in the suburbs that's gorgeous and beautiful is going to make you very happy. Well, those types of houses, even though they are beautiful and very comfortable and very enjoyable to live in, they only will make you happy if the paying for that house is just a fraction of your normal income, and you don't have to overexert yourself too much in the maintaining of it. It's a wealthy person's house, so unless you're a very wealthy person, that isn't something that you should do. Maybe in days past, people instinctively knew not to do this. That's why you'll see homes from maybe the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and even in the 70s were usually smaller, more modest, not so grand, and they were built a little more durably. They didn't have a lot of stuff in there that was hard to maintain. You see what I mean? In the past, some of the decisions that people made were pretty good for them. They knew they could, handle a modest payment. So I'm not saying not to get a beautiful house. I'm saying that you only get a beautiful house if the paying for it is not a major undertaking. But usually it is for most people. So I would consider that a very big mistake that's very difficult to overcome. Another big mistake people make is they get married. They get married to the wrong person, or they get married too young, or they get married for the wrong reasons, or they, in general, marriage might not be a great option for people anymore in the West, especially men, but I think it's kind of hard on women too. You might want to rethink the whole process and determine if that's really what's right for you. I mean, my website is for men. It's ahappierman.com after all. And I went from a very unhappy man being married to a very happy man being escaped and divorced and single again. But I've run into a lot of women who, they're not that happy being married. They're tired of their husbands. They don't like them anymore. They'd like to be free again. They'd like to start over, but they're stuck. I mean, this happens to a lot of people. So you might want to think about this deeply. Get in your mind right. Is marriage the right choice for me? I would say the first, at least, consider it that marriage is probably wrong for most of you, and you would have to try to convince yourself that it's right. Lay out all the reasons why it's right and compare to all the reasons where it's wrong. And if those reasons for it being right are overwhelming, well, then it's, maybe it's the right decision. That's the getting your mind right. Not just, well, she's pregnant, I better marry her. Be a little more careful. Be very careful. There were options about that too. What else? Well, getting your mind right can be very difficult. If you're with someone who's really hard on you, who likes to criticize you, and whatever you do that person isn't happy, well, your mind is going to be all messed up. This happened to me. I was verbally abused, was criticized, badgered, and belittled, made to feel small. Anything I did seemed to be wrong. So my mind wasn't right. I thought, well, it's my wife. I love her. I married her. She must be right. I must be wrong. I'm going to do what she says. And then, of course, the more I did what she said, the worse my life got. The more in debt we became. The harder life was. The worse things became. It was this vicious cycle, and it was all because my mind wasn't right. And, the being in a toxic relationship, that doesn't make your mind right. So you need to, if you spend time with a toxic person is one who criticizes you a lot, makes you feel bad about yourself, will yell and scream at you, will threaten you. Those are all signs of toxicity. And that's no way to live. If you're in that type of relationship, you have to find a way out, whether it's your spouse or a parent or a friend or a sibling or a roommate. That isn't any way to live. Your mind will your mind will basically be pummeled, kind of similar to how a prisoner of war would be tortured in a variety of ways. And it's almost more cruel because this is a person that it might be a friend, family member, a lover. So you know, were either just kind of into that relationship by being born into it, or you chose it. So it's almost worse than being a prisoner. But anyway, if you find yourself in that type of relationship, you want to spend as much time as possible away from that person. And in that time away, you would spend it getting your mind right. Taking notes, journaling, thinking, talking to yourself about, you know, how you want your life to go. That's what I did. And that worked. That worked remarkably well. But it took a long time. It took quite a few years of that, because, you know, in the meanwhile, you know, I'd spend a half hour on the drive home from work thinking well of myself, and you get home from work and you immediately jumped on and made you feel bad about something that isn't your fault. So what else? That's, you know, the getting the mind right. The second step is taking the action. Well, once your mind is right, the action should become clear, you know, what to do. You know, in my case, the action was clear that I had to leave her. So it was, the leaving was the action. And usually, if you're in a situation that is very difficult, very hard on you, the leaving part, the action, won't be simple. It will be difficult. Leaving my wife was very, very difficult. It wasn't just move along now type of thing. It was very difficult, and that's what you'll find. Let's say you're severely overweight. Well, the action is to lose weight, but you'll find that losing a lot of weight is very difficult. It's going to take a long time. You'll constantly need to be taking action in the right steps to lose a lot of weight. If you're in a verbally abusive relationship with somebody who thinks that you are there to do their bidding, just because you leave doesn't mean they still don't insist you do their bidding, right? So, you know, that's why it was so hard for me to leave. You know, once I left, I could start to heal, but I was constantly being dragged back into some drama, some situation that would leave me shell-shocked. So then, but I could, at least I was left, so I could leave the situation and retreat back to somewhere else and start to heal. But it was just like this constant tearing at a scab. So that's why you need that time, the rest, to heal, and to recharge. And then from that time of rest, you'll be able to grow. You'll be able to start to recreate your life more to your liking. That's the 3 steps. You may find that you have multiple issues to overcome. Multiple ones, right? You know, for me, it's a verbally abusive wife that I left. Then, you know, after I left her, there was more problems and drama and chaos and frustration to deal with. And eventually my kids, they left her because she was mistreating them, so I, you know, took them in. But that was a whole another thing I had to go through, and I went through that successfully. The kids are doing fantastically well, thankfully. But then even after that, my ex-wife, the kid's mother, she got even worse behaviors that caused us enormous difficulty. And I had to get back to do that whole system again, getting my mind right. Well, you know, the mind right was, I got to figure out a way to deal with her, because I just, you know, simply wanted, well, I don't want to deal with you, just don't come here, don't bother me, live your life, goodbye, have a happy life. But that wasn't what she wanted. So I had to figure out another way to deal with this. So I had to screw myself upward again with courage to figure out what the action should be. I took the action, went through that, and finally was able to take care of this massive problem in my life. And I had time then to rest and recharge and heal from it. And along the way, there's been all kinds of other things that I've done and have consciously and unconsciously used this system, to get I was back when the bad economy, my job just was taking a tremendous hit, pay cuts and health insurance premiums went through the roof, and even layoffs. So I went through a lot of hurdles to get a much better job and kind of got myself back on my feet. But again, I had to use that system to get that job and just trying to take care of myself. All these methods it's interrelated. But one, try to get your mind right first. Think highly of yourself. Think that you matter. Think that your life is worth it. If you find yourself in a situation where somebody is just giving you a hard time and they won't relent, well, you have to find a way out of that. Then two, that would be finding a way out. And three, then you can recharge and take care of yourself. And I like to emphasize the step three because a lot of people, they don't really take the time to take care of themselves. They don't sleep enough. They eat wrong. They don't get any sunshine. They don't, they eat the wrong foods. They don't have focus on nutritious foods. They don't supplement. They don't go to the dentist or the doctor as needed, and they stay with toxic people. These are all things that if you're taking care of yourself, you would do naturally, but it's sometimes you feel stuck, and that's why I'm encouraging you to use this three-step system, live it, make it your life, and become a happier man.